Imagine this. You have lived in your Victorian terrace for 15 years. It is a beautiful home. Solid red brick, high ceilings, original fireplaces. It has survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and every recession in between. It is solid. It is warm enough. It is yours. You decide it is time to downsize. You put it on the market. You find a buyer. They love the character. They love the history. But 3 weeks before the exchange of contracts, the buyer pulls out. They don't pull out because of the price. They don't pull out because of a structural defect. They pull out because their mortgage lender has refused to lend on the property. Why? Because your energy performance certificate, your EPC, is a grade E. In the eyes of the bank, and increasingly in the eyes of the government, your historic home is no longer an asset. It is a liability. It is a carbon criminal. You are told that to make your home sellable, you need to bring it up to a grade C. You ask a surveyor what that involves. He takes a look at your solid brick walls and gives you the bill. £15,000 for external wall insulation, £8,000 for a heat pump, and £4,000 for new glazing. You have to spend nearly £30,000 just to be allowed to sell your own house. Welcome to 2026. We are in the middle of the great retrofit crisis. Across the UK, millions of homeowners and landlords are waking up to a terrifying reality. The government's drive for net zero has turned into a war on traditional housing. If your EPC rating is D, E, F or G, you are sitting on a ticking time bomb. We are seeing landlords exiting the market in droves because they can't afford the upgrades, leaving tenants homeless. We are seeing homeowners trapped in mortgage prisons because they can't refinance onto better rates without a green certificate. They call it energy efficiency. I call it the confiscation of wealth through bureaucracy. In this video, I am going to expose the EPC trap. I am going to explain exactly why the current EPC assessment system is fundamentally flawed and punishes older homes unfairly. I'm going to break down the green mortgage cartel that is forcing these changes through the back door. But you need to watch this video right to the very end. Do not skip a second, because the government has left a few back doors open. There are specific exemptions that you can legally apply for to bypass these $15,000 upgrades. Most people don't know they exist. Most estate agents don't know they exist. At the end of this video, I am going to hand you the Exemption Playbook, a guide on how to register your property as exempt from these targets so you can sell or rent it without spending a fortune. If you own a house built before 1930, this information is not just interesting, it is critical for your financial survival. Let's look at the law. To understand the panic, we have to look at the timeline. For years, the government has been tightening the screws on the minimum energy efficiency standards, MES. First, it was illegal to rent out a property rated F or G. That seemed reasonable. Those were cold, drafty places. But then the goalposts moved. The target became Grade C. Now, in 2026, the pressure is immense. The government has signalled that they want all rental properties to be Grade C. And they are putting immense pressure on lenders to ensure their mortgage books average a Grade C as well. This sounds noble on paper. We all want warmer homes and lower bills. But here is the problem. The United Kingdom has the oldest housing stock in Europe. Our houses were built in 1890, 1900, 1920. They were built with solid brick walls, slate roofs and timber floors. They were designed to breathe. They were designed to be heated by coal fires. They were not designed to be hermetically sealed plastic boxes. The EPC assessment, the test that gives you your grade, is a blunt instrument. It is a computer algorithm designed for modern cavity wall boxes. When you apply that algorithm to a Victorian terrace, it fails. Let's look at how the points are calculated, because this is where the scam begins. An EPC surveyor comes to your house. He spends about 20 minutes there. He measures the floor area. He looks at the boiler. He looks at the windows. He enters this data into a piece of software called RDSAP. The software assumes the worst. If you have solid brick walls, which most Victorian houses do, the software automatically gives you a terrible score for wall insulation. It assumes that heat is hemorrhaging through your bricks. So, to get from a D to a C, the software recommends solid wall insulation. This is the $15,000 nightmare. There are two ways to do this: internal or external. Internal insulation means you lose 10 cm of floor space on every wall. You have to rip out your skirting boards, your cornicing, your period features. You turn your beautiful historic room into a smaller plasterboard box. External insulation is even worse. You have to stick 100 ml of plastic foam to the outside of your house and cover it in render. That beautiful red brick facade? Gone. That architectural detail? Gone. Your street, which has looked the same for 100 years, suddenly looks like a cheap industrial estate. But the aesthetic disaster is nothing compared to the structural disaster. I need to explain the physics of the breathable wall. Victorian bricks are porous. They get wet when it rains, and they dry out when the sun shines and the wind blows. The heat from inside your house helps push that moisture out. It is a cycle that has worked for a century. When you glue plastic insulation to the outside of that brick, you stop the drying process. If any water gets in, say, from a leaking gutter or a crack in the render, it gets trapped behind the plastic. The brick stays wet. Wet brick conducts heat faster than dry brick, so your insulation actually makes the wall colder and damper. Then comes the frost, the wet. Brick freezes and spalls. The face of the brick shears off. We are already seeing cases where homeowners spent $15,000 on this insulation, only to find 3 years later that they have massive damp problems and their structural walls are crumbling. The EPC software doesn't care about damp. It doesn't care about heritage. It only cares about the theoretical U value of the wall. You are being forced to damage your asset to chase a bureaucratic score. And let's talk about the cost. The government estimates the average cost to upgrade a Band D home to Band C is around $8,000 to $10,000. That is a lie. That estimate assumes you can just add some loft insulation and change a few light bulbs. For a solid wall house, the real cost is closer to $20,000. Let's break it down. External wall insulation, $12,000, $15,000. New double glazing, if you have sash windows, $8,000. Air source heat pump, because they hate gas boilers, $12,000. Even with a $5,000 grant for the heat pump, you are looking at a $25,000 bill. Who has $25,000 sitting in their bank account right now? The government says, you will save money on your bills. Let's do the math. If you spend $25,000 to save $400 a year on heating, the payback period is 62 years. You will be dead before that investment pays off. This is not an investment. This is a tax. It is a green tax levied on the owners of older properties. Now, you might be thinking, I'll just ignore it. I don't plan to sell right now. But you can't ignore the banks. This is the shadow ban. Even if the government doesn't pass a law tomorrow explicitly banning the sale of Grade D homes, the banks are doing it for them. Banks have their own net zero targets. They are under pressure from the Bank of England to decarbonise their loan book. This means they want to lend on Grade A, B and C homes. They do not want to lend on D and E homes. We are already seeing green mortgages. If you buy a Grade A home, you get an interest rate of 4.5%. If you buy a Grade E home, you might pay 5.5% or be asked for a larger deposit, 25% or 30%. This devalues your house. If a buyer has to pay a higher interest rate to buy your house, they can afford to borrow less, so they offer you less. Your house is worth less simply because of that letter on the certificate. And if you want to remortgage, If your fixed rate ends and you need a new deal, the bank might say, "Sorry, your house is a Grade E. We can't offer you our best products. You're stuck on the standard variable rate." You become a prisoner in your own home, bled dry by high interest rates because you haven't wrapped your house in plastic. This is causing chaos in the rental market. If you are a tenant watching this, you might think, "Good, make the landlord pay." But guess who actually pays? You do. Landlords are looking at these $20,000 bills and saying, "It's not worth it." They are selling up. As they sell, the supply of rental properties collapses. We have 20 tenants fighting for every available flat. Rents are skyrocketing to record highs. And the landlords who do stay, they spend the $20,000 and then they raise the rent by $300 a month to cover the cost of the loan. The EPC Trap is the single biggest driver of the rental crisis in the UK right now. It is hurting the very people it was supposed to help, the tenants who struggle with bills. Instead of a slightly cheaper heating bill, they now have a massively expensive rent bill or no home at all. Let's look at the heat pump mandate, which is often tied to improving your EPC. To get to Grade C, the algorithm loves heat pumps. If you rip out your gas boiler and put in a heat pump, your EPC score jumps up. Usually. But here is the catch. Heat pumps work at a lower temperature than gas boilers. To heat a drafty Victorian house with a heat pump, you need massive radiators, twice the size of normal ones. And you need excellent insulation. If you install a heat pump in a Grade E house without doing the 15,000-ton insulation first, your electricity bill will explode. You will be freezing cold, and your bills will be higher than when you had gas. But the EPC system rewards the installation of the technology, not the performance of the technology. It is a box-ticking exercise that is divorced from reality. So, is the system rigged? Absolutely. We have seen reports of EPC surveyors copying and pasting data. Because they are paid so little per survey, sometimes as low as $40, they rush. If they can't see the insulation in the loft because there are boxes in the way, they mark it as no insulation. If they can't find the date on the double glazing, they mark it as single glazed. I have seen houses jump from a Grade E to a Grade C simply by getting a better surveyor who actually took the time to measure the windows properly. The difference between your house being illegal and legal often comes down to the laziness of the person holding the clipboard. This subjectivity is terrifying when your financial future depends on it. But let's get to the most important part of this video, the solution. If you own a Grade D or E home and you don't have $20,000 to spare, what do? Do you just accept that your house is unsellable? Do you accept the fines? No. You fight back using the rules they wrote. The government knows that upgrading every Victorian house is impossible. They know it would bankrupt the country. So, they included exemptions. This is your survival guide. There is a national database called the PRS Exemptions Register. If you can legally register an exemption here, you are safe for 5 years. You can rent the property and you can sell it without the stigma of being non-compliant. Here are the 3 golden exemptions you need to know about. Exemption 1, the high cost exemption. The $3,500 cap. This is the most powerful tool for landlords. The law currently states, and check the latest 2026 updates, but the principle remains, that you are only required to spend up to a certain cost cap to improve the property. Previously, this was $3,500. Inc. VAT. If you can prove that you have spent up to the cap, or that the cheapest improvement would cost more than the cap, you can register an exemption. For example, your house is Grade E. The recommendation is external wall insulation. Cost £15,000. Since £15,000 is higher than the cap, you do not have to do it. You get 3 quotes from installers showing the price is $15,000. You upload these quotes to the government register. Boom! You are exempt. You are compliant. You do not have to spend the money. Many people panic and spend the money because they don't know about the cap. Do not be one of those people. Get the quotes, prove it's too expensive, and file the paperwork. Exemption 2, the devaluation exemption. This one is crucial for homeowners and unique properties. You can claim an exemption if the required. Improvements would reduce the market value of your property by more than 5%. How would insulation reduce value? Simple. If you have a beautiful stone cottage or a red brick terrace and you cover it in ugly white render, estate agents will tell you it is worth less. It has lost its curb appeal. To use this, you need a report from a RICS surveyor stating that the installation of the measure would devalue the property. If the report says, yes, external cladding will make this period home look ugly and drop its value by 7%, you are exempt. You file the report. You keep your brick. You keep your value. Exemption 3, the third-party consent. Exemption. This is for leaseholders and people in flats. Often to upgrade a flat, like changing windows or adding external insulation, you need permission. You might need permission from the freeholder. You might need permission from the planning department, especially in conservation areas. You might need permission from the mortgage lender. If you ask for permission and they say no, you are exempt. So if you own a flat and the freeholder refuses to let you do cavity wall insulation because it affects the whole block, get that refusal in writing. That letter is your get out of jail free card. You upload the refusal letter. You are exempt for 5 years. This is the game. It is a game of paperwork. The government relies on you being passive. They rely on you seeing the grade E and feeling guilty and scared. They want you to open your wallet. But if you understand the bureaucracy, you can protect your asset. You need to be proactive. If your EPC is low, commission a new one from a highly rated surveyor, not the cheapest one you find on Google. Walk around with them. Show them the LED lights. Show them the thermostatic valves on the radiators. Make sure they tick every box. If it is still low, look at the recommendations. Are they expensive? Use the cost cap. Are they ugly? Use the devaluation exemption. Are they impossible? Use the consent exemption. We have to be realistic. The direction of travel is clear. The world is trying to use less energy. Eventually, in 2035 or 2040, we might all have to change our homes. But right now, in 2026, the technology is expensive, the workforce is underskilled, and the EPC system is flawed. You should not be the early adopter who pays the pioneer tax. Let the technology get cheaper. Let the systems improve. Protect your cash flow today. This EPC trap is going to catch millions of people out. Don't let it be you. If you found this breakdown helpful, and if the exemption guide just saved you $15,000, please do me a favour, smash that like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that this is vital information that needs to be shared with other homeowners. Leave a comment below. What is your EPC rating, and have you been quoted a crazy price for insulation? I want to see the real numbers you are facing. And finally, subscribe. We are investigating the digital ID checks that are coming to the rental market next month. Another layer of control you need to know about. You don't want to miss that. Protect your home. Protect your wallet. I'll see you in the next one.